Hello everyone. We are finally finishing the series of icebergs about members of the band Malice Miser. This one, which is the last one, will be about MANA, the band's co-founder, guitarist and main songwriter. Do you remember how in the Koji Iceberg at the end I said something like, the next iceberg will be a revamped MANA one? I don't know if I'll add a lot of entries to it. It will mostly be just rereading what I had said in the original. Well, my original MANA Iceberg had like 30 entries. This one has 90. And pretty much every entry from the previous one was massively expanded. And the script is 16 pages long, making this the longest Malice Miser Iceberg script so far. Maybe except for Ogect, I don't remember how long the script for that iceberg was. So, I am pretty terrified of how long this video will turn out. Some of these entries came from my previous icebergs, especially the new Malice Miser iceberg, the iceberg image of which was made by Moss on Twitter, so shout out to him. A great source for entries for this iceberg was the Twitter profile Je t'aime Mana-sama, which posts pieces of trivia about Mana almost every day. The account is run by Lily at Belengeblash. I have no idea if I said that correctly. If you are a Mana fan, make sure to follow Je t'aime Mana, it is a very cool profile. I am very thankful for its existence. Okay, that's it for the intro, so without further ado. Thank you to Haitani, Mumble Honey, Remilia, Big Body Igor and Canary Casey for supporting me on Patreon, and let's get into the video. Mana was born on March 19th in the city of Hiroshima at exactly 3:19 AM. A common rumor says that he was born in the year 1969. Metal archives say it's actually 1972. The real year Mana was born in has never been officially confirmed. However, due to reasons that I'll mention further down the iceberg, 1969 is a probable year of his birth. And we know for sure that he was definitely born before 1972. In one interview with Koji, Mana mentions that when the two of them met, he might have been in his early 20s, and we know that they met in like 1990 or 1991, which means that 1969 kinda checks out. But yeah, we can't be sure unless we get a somewhat official confirmation. After Malice Miser post activities, in 2002 Mana started a metal band named Moi-même-Moitié. Mana composes all of Moi-même-Moitié's music and lyrics. He arranges, produces and designs the stage costumes and acts as overall artistic director. In contrast to Malice Miser, Moi-même-Moitié is explicitly built as Mana's solo project. While the project members have input during the performance and recording of the music, Mana essentially determines the band's artistic direction on his own. According to Mana, he initially wanted Moi-même-Moitié to be a black metal band, as he is a big fan of black metal, but in the end the band went into a more symphonic metal direction. Although it does incorporate black metal elements from time to time, like tremolo picking and blast beats. The band's current lineup consists of vocalist Seth, bassist Sugiya, drummer Hayato, guitarist Rooks, and of course guitarist and songwriter Mana. Three of its original members, vocalist Juka, bassist Kazuno, and drummer Tohru, left in 2005, and its previous guitarist Kei passed away in 2014. As of 2025, Moi-même-Moitié has released 5 full-length albums. Unlike Malice Miser, they organize concerts outside Japan on multiple occasions. Started by MANA in 1999, Moi-même-Moitié is a Japanese fashion brand focusing on Gothic Lolita clothing. It is credited with helping popularize the Gothic Lolita fashion movement. It features two lines of designs named Elegant Gothic Lolita and Elegant Gothic Aristocrat. The brand opened its first shop in Tokyo in the Aoyama district. Later they moved to a department store in Shinjuku. They also had branches in Nagoya, Hiroshima and Sendai, among other places. Currently, no Moi-même-Moitié stores remain open and the brand focuses on selling their products online.
Moi-même-Moitié shop is another hot tip for real fans of darkness. His Excellency Count MANA resides here amongst spiderwebs, Dracula outfits and Gothic fashion.
According to the Lolita Fashion Wiki, Gothic Lolita is a style of the Lolita fashion that was popularized by MANA. It is influenced by the Victorian-inspired goth styles. Some of the main characteristics of it are dark clothes, dark makeup, motifs such as crosses, bats, skulls, coffins, chandeliers, deep red roses and castles. Elegant Gothic Lolita and Elegant Gothic Aristocrats are two sub-styles of Gothic Lolita that were made by MANA for his fashion brand. According to this one very cool YouTube video by Agatka Senpai, unfortunately it's in Polish so sorry, Gothic Lolita existed all the way back in the late 1980s, but there was no term for it at the time. Girls dressing up Gothic Lolita-like attended heavy metal concerts in the 80s. The style was initially popularized by mangas written by Maki Kusumoto. However, it wasn't until the late 1990s and the Beren Oseido era of Malice Miser that Gothic Lolita's popularity skyrocketed. This is also when the term Gothic Lolita was coined, probably inspired by MANA describing his style as elegant Gothic and Lolita. To this day, MANA remains the most important icon of the Gothic Lolita community. MIDI.net is an independent record label previously owned by MANA, established in the early 1990s to manage Malice Miser releases. Several other artists have released their music via MIDI.net, such as Schwarzstein and Moi-même-Moitié. Since the 2010s, Yuki Ito was credited as the owner of the label. Allegedly, MIDI.net does not exist anymore and Malice Miser and Moi-même-Moitié releases have been in copyright hell over the past few years, despite the fact that MIDI.net websites still exist and you can buy both Malice Miser and Moi-même-Moitié albums there. But there might be something to it not existent now, given how long it takes MANA to release his albums on streaming services, and the fact that Moi-même-Moitié is now signed to a label named Maglaya. However, the 2019 Malice Miser Deep Sanctuary DVD was apparently released by MIDI.net, so I don't know. Most of you are probably aware that MANA is very fond of the color blue. In Malice Miser he wore blue clothes to symbolize his quiet personality, as opposed to Koji, who wore red clothes because he has a loud personality. Also his favorite Power Ranger was the blue one, by the way. He also likes the color black, quote, "I love the color black and I want to be surrounded by it all the time. For me, black is the source of power." Koji and MANA are big fans of the French singer Mylène Farmer. A few Malice Miser songs sample her music and the name Sans Logique is taken from a title of her song. Even Malice Miser's logo was inspired by her. Another pop singer MANA likes is Akina Nakamori. JVM Rose's Blood Symphony was a collaboration tour of the bands Versailles, Moi-même-Moitié and Matenro Opera in 2023. JVM stands for Japanese Visual Metal. They released a memorial single on September 20th. Since all bands contributed something to the song, It's technically MANA's first ever song released on streaming services. The whole project was kinda seen as a tribute to MANA. MANA is very fond of Snoopy. In one of the interviews I found, he's quoted saying, "I slept with a blue Snoopy blanket when I was a child, so I think I just naturally became very fond of it. I have so many Snoopy themed items I can barely count them all, as I always receive them as presents from all of you. I think what draws me to the character the most is the carefree atmosphere, which I find very soothing. I often use a Snoopy tea set when I'm having tea." He also uses Snoopy stickers and gifts when he's talking to his friends and acquaintances. MANA is a metalhead. He listens to traditional heavy metal, black metal, thrash metal, death metal, and hair metal. One of his favorite bands is the thrash metal band Slayer, with his favorite song from them being Angel of Death. He's also a fan of Iron Maiden, and their Peace of Mind album, released in 1983, was the first record he had ever bought. Ion's song Bloody was what inspired MANA to move from Hiroshima to Osaka, so he could attend live shows of bands he read about in magazines. Some other bands he likes include Dark Funeral, Motley Crue, Wasp, Halloween, and Accept. The first concert he attended was a Motley Crue one. Since we know MANA moved to Osaka after high school specifically because he wanted to attend concerts there, I'm gonna take a guess and say that it might have been the December 14th, 1987 live at Osaka Joe Hall. This might also confirm that MANA was born in 1969, as in Japan you are 18 when you finish high school. The only previous Motley Crue live in Osaka was in 1985, and the next one was in 1990. Monologue Garden is a website which serves as MANA's blog. He doesn't post on it that much these days, he mostly posts on Twitter. MANA is notable for his cross-dressing. I will talk in details about his views on clothes and gender later. The increase in cross-dress in visual kei musicians is credited to MANA's influence. He self-identifies as onnagata, a term used to refer to male actors who play female roles in Japan's traditional kabuki theater. He has been dressing feminine all the way back in the early 90s. MANA is commonly referred to as Mana-sama by his fans as well as his fellow musicians. Apparently this habit dates all the way back to 1992, the year Malice Miser was founded. MANA is a fan of horror media. Even as a young child, he already enjoyed horror comics and watched horror films at night. He enjoys old foreign horror films, especially Italian ones. He doesn't like Japanese horror movies because they scare him too much. Among his favorite horror films are the original Suspiria and the original Dracula. He once did a cosplay of Sasa Sims, a character from Suspiria. His favorite vampire films are Nosferatu, the original one from the 1920s, as well as Black Sunday. MANA described his music composing process like this. "In the past, I always chose a theme for the album first and then filled it with a story. Then I composed the music based on the story and the images in my mind. For that I use a keyboard. So you could say that my music is like the soundtrack for a movie. When I'm finished with composing, I write the lyrics while I'm listening to the songs." He wrote his first song when he was 18 or 19. He considers Malice Miser's Bara no Seido album to be the best work he has ever done. He had a hard time working on Seinaru Toki Eien no Inori. He claims he had to redo composing it many times in order to get exactly what he had in mind. MANA likes to wear miniskirts because, quote, "The reason women wear miniskirts is because they can attract others' attention, and it's really exciting. He doesn't like jeans, and he never wore them because he thinks he wouldn't look good in them." MANA used to try his best to not show people that he is smiling, but you can find quite a few photographs of him doing so. In a Hot Wave interview from the Beast of Blood era broadcasted on October 11th, 2001, you can see MANA getting really close to breaking character and laughing as a reaction to something Koji said.
そうですね。マナちゃんかな。マナちゃんになってね、こう拝み倒されたいこう。マナ様。 Mana-sama.
Unfortunately, the camera fades to black before we can see him recover. Mana's first ever public laugh, or rather a laughful exhale, happened 20 years later, while he was playing some game with Moi-même-Moitie's second vocalist Rooks. It seems like the only people that can make Mana laugh are guitarists.
うわー、ダメだ。はい。黄色。
Mana does not speak in public. He usually whispers into the ear of a person accompanying him, who then repeats his words aloud.
Fand den Gothic-Lolita-Look, mischt Metal mit Klassik und J-Pop und verbindet große Schuhe mit großem Theater. Mana flüstert. Sein Medium antwortet. Beide scheinen den Visagisten von Marilyn Manson zu kennen. Welches große Geheimnis wird er uns flüstern?
私がティーンエイジャーだった頃に
Als Teenager war ich Fan von Mötley Crüe. Sie sind mir in einer Zeitschrift aufgefallen, weil sie einen extremen Style hatten. Ich fand Tommy Lee super, deshalb wollte ich unbedingt ein Schlagzeug. Und meine Eltern haben mir tatsächlich eins gekauft. Das ist es, was Mana sagt.
と申しております。
He also expresses himself with hand gestures or looks at the camera as subtitles appear. In one interview he used yes or no cards. Despite this, there were 2 filmed interviews in which Mana has spoken. In a 1996 Hot Wave interview, he introduced himself by saying his name and that he plays guitar. Then in a 1998 interview, he said that his eyes are dry.
ギターのマナです。
ギターのマナさん。歌だよー。
あ、オッケー。歌の方で。
じゃあトークの方これで OK になりますんで、あと歌のスタンバイしますんでちょっとお待ちください。
目が可愛いとこでしょ。
動いてるよ。
He provided his voice for Malice Miser's Kyomu no Naka de no Yugi and performed live vocals at the band's Budokan Live after the release of Bara no Seido. Quote, I was nervous because this was the first time for me to try to use my voice in a live performance. But I used a pitch changer to raise and lower my voice by several octaves, so it wasn't my natural voice anymore. He also provided his voice for some Moi-même-Moitié songs like Shadow's Temple and Monophobia. Although the person whose voice you hear in those tracks was named Shadow X in the album's credits, Mana himself confirmed in a 2023 interview that he did provide vocals for Moi-même-Moitié. In the interview he was asked by Hiro of Lacrima Christi, I've only just started singing, so it's still a little embarrassing. Do you not sing, Mana? To which Mana responded, I do have the feeling that I don't really want to put my singing out into the world, but the truth is, I've actually done deaf vocals on Moi-même-Moitié CDs. I feel like I'd love to do deaf voice live as well, but when I think about the image, maybe it's better to leave it untouched. There's also a video on YouTube titled Mana Talking, which claims to be a recording from an early Malice Miser live in which you can hear Mana say something to the crowd. But I don't think it really is Mana because the voice sounds pretty much exactly like Koji's. It's said that Mana speaks or used to speak with a Hiroshima accent, meaning he pronounces the letter E in certain words when others don't. Koji and Mana are pretty good friends to this day. They often hang out together and some time ago they actually went on a tour to South America. They met in the year 1990 or 1991 in a karaoke bar that Koji worked at. Matenro was a band that Mana and Koji were a part of before Malice Miser. The band was formed in 1990 and Mana and Koji joined it in late 1991. Mana was a bassist and Koji was a guitarist. They had just a few live performances before disbanding. Thankfully, one of these lives was recorded and released on videotape titled Nervous Night. As MATENRO disbanded, Mana and Koji decided that they have similar musical visions and formed Malice Miser in August 1992. As I've already said in the Koji Iceberg video, recently there have been some interesting findings related to MATENRO, thanks to Kantavanda. He found that 2 demo tapes that were attributed to MATENRO were actually fakes. Somebody just took some obscure Visual Kei band songs, uploaded them to YouTube and claimed that it is a MATENRO demo tape. The real MATENRO never released any demo tapes. In 1999, Mana appeared on the TV program Nail Queen 99, which, from what I can find, was an international nail expo or something like that. Mana being Mana, despite being surrounded by microphones, he did not say a single word. His interpreter at the show was Minako Honda, who was also Malice Miser's secretary at the time, and would later write a book as a collaboration with Koji. You can find out more about this in my Koji Iceberg video.
マリスミゼルのマナさんです。マナさんは独自のビジュアルシーンにおける鮮烈ファッションとネイルが新世代に支持されている。
秘書を務めさせていただいております。代わりに質問にお答えしますのでよろしくお願いします。
そうですか。じゃあ意思的なものはマナさんのあれではなく。
もうマナ様から発せられた意思を私が口を通じて。
なんか超能力みたいなもんでですか？
まあそのような感じで。はい。
そうですか。
Mana is a certified gamer. He likes video games and he has a collection of consoles. He enjoys horror games like the Resident Evil series, shooters, racing and open world games. His favorite game series is Castlevania. The title of Malice Miser's Gekka no Yasukyoku is the same as the Japanese title for Castlevania Symphony of the Night, which was released a few months prior to this song. As a child, he played a lot of Pac-Man, Galaxian and Crazy Climbers. In the Malice Miser days, he was obsessed with a game titled Dracula's Dining Table, and he wanted Yuki to play it, but he wasn't interested. Kami used to live close to Mana's house, and he would often come over to play racing games together. He buys game consoles as soon as they come out, and his favorite portable gaming console is the PC Engine GT, also known as Turbo Express. Quote from Je t'aime Mana-sama: when the first Xbox was released, Mana ran to the store and stayed in the queue waiting for the store to open. He was one of the first in the queue to get it. Mana bought the Xbox but couldn't play it right away as he had office work to do. Throughout the entire day, he kept looking at the green and black box right next to his legs below the desk. At that moment he thought, so that's the boring life of an adult, huh? Moi-même-Moitié online saloon was opened through the website DMM in 2019. It's kind of like a fan club which gives its members news about the brand, exclusive entries of Mana's diary, hair and makeup tips, exclusive videos and interviews that Mana conducts with special guests. Mana likes classical music. His favorite composers include Johann Sebastian Bach, Niccolò Paganini and Ludwig van Beethoven. When he first moved from Hiroshima to Osaka, he took with him some of the tapes his parents had of Bach and other classical musicians. His compositions often included samples of classical music, for example, Baroque samples Für Elise by Beethoven, and two-part Invention No. 4 in D minor by Bach, and Seinaru Toki Eien no Inori samples Toccata and Fugue in D minor by Bach as well. Malice Miser's signature twin guitar sound was inspired by Bach's Concerto for Two Harpsichords in C minor. Kanon Wakeshima is a singer and cellist formerly produced by Mana. He produced and helped in songwriting for the first two of Wakeshima's albums, including songs Still Doll and Suna no Oshiro, which were later used as ending themes for 2008 animes Vampire Knight and Vampire Knight Guilty. The Moi-même-Moitié official YouTube channel sometimes uploads videos of Chef Mana's elegant gothic cooking, and it's exactly what it sounds like. Some of the videos are subbed with Mana's commentary in English. Mana enjoys cooking books and shows, and he even expressed interest in competing in a cooking challenge. He stated that he had wanted to become a professional chef. Surprisingly, in one of the interviews, Mana claims to not be fond of French cuisine. MANA has recorded a few videos of him playing Moi-même-Moitié and Malice Miser songs for his YouTube channel. If I understand correctly, he did it to encourage people to stay at home during the pandemic. There is a running joke in the Malice Miser fanbase that MANA steals souls of the people that listen to his music. To this day, MANA hasn't learned music theory, and his composing style is feeling-oriented. J'aime Mana-sama provided a quote of him saying, "There was a time when I thought learning music theory would expand the breadth of my compositions, but I think the interesting part of my songs is that they have developments which can't be explained with theory. I've come to believe that refusing to learn theory so that I compose solely off of feeling is more representative of my personality. And of course, I'm at the point where I feel that my writing style helps me put out songs that represent me. However, the other members of the band know all about chords, sheet music and everything. The guitarist Kei and bassist Sugiya discuss my songs using the specialist lexicon. As for me, I can't follow the conversations. They were writing down sheet music to my songs to remember the complicated parts. They wrote down notes for all the chords and yet I couldn't read a single thing they wrote. As I have said, MANA is a big fan of the Castlevania series. He wrote a MIDI ringtone for mobile phones named La Nuit Blanche to promote the game Castlevania Harmony of Dissonance, released in 2002. The ringtone was available for people to download from the Tsutaya online store and was never released outside of Japan. It seems like the ringtone was already lost media all the way back in 2004 and 2005. When asked about if he has saved a copy of the ringtone, MANA responded, "Since I made it on a super old flip phone, I don't have the audio data. If anyone has it and can record it, I want to hear it." So, since even MANA doesn't have it, it's unlikely that La Nuit Blanche will be found, unless someone stumbles upon a very old Japanese phone that will have the ringtone downloaded. MANA's favorite anime is the 1968 series Yokai Ningen Bam. He also really likes Sailor Moon and Angelique. Others worth mentioning are Barbapapa, Doraemon, various shoujo anime, and Gundam Wing. For a fan club special event for MANA and Koji's birthday in 1997, MANA cosplayed Yokai Bella from Yokai Ningen Bam. MANA's parents were both music teachers. They tried to teach MANA play the piano, but he wasn't interested. They played classical music all the time in their house. They apparently also played music for him to listen while he was in his mother's womb. And MANA's father got angry at him when he started listening to heavy metal. A friend of the father of Rooks taught in the same high school as MANA's father. Also, MANA's father taught music to an older sister of Seth, the band's current vocalist. MANA has two siblings and is the oldest child. He has a sister and a brother. He has a few nieces and nephews. Apparently, according to J'aime Mana-sama, the child in that one photoshoot of MANA is not actually his nephew. I was very surprised to read this, as I've seen so many sites saying that this is MANA's nephew called Mi-chan, and I even said that in like 2 videos, I think. And we don't know who this child actually was. Apparently, it's just some random kid. One anecdote related to MANA's nephews is how in 2011, when MANA came to Hiroshima to visit his parents, the nephews said he looks like Bella, a character from the anime Yokai Ningen Bam, that anime character who I mentioned before that MANA cosplayed at a fan club event. The nephews thought he looks like Bella because his hair was dyed green. Quote, "My sister's kids tied my hair back and were excited, saying, 'It is the Yokai Ningen Bam.'" Reddit user Kokoa Komuri commented that they met MANA's cousin at a Moi-même-Moitié live in Hiroshima. He apparently was helping out with good sales that night. Through MANA's blog site, Monologue Garden, you can fill out a form to send your message to MANA. If you want to send a physical letter or a gift, there is an address under the message form. MANA is raising sea monkeys. He named his first sea monkey Damian. He held a contest for one abroad fan and one domestic fan to receive sea monkeys personally from him. Reportedly, he even sent a fan a package of sea monkeys because her own had died. He is terrified of cockroaches and rats. When asked if he likes animals, he said, "I can't say why, but I can't relate to animals. I like to watch them, but I don't like to touch them. I could imagine to keep a small blue tropical fish though. It could be interesting to create my world in a fish tank." Mana has an interest in the paranormal and supernatural. When he was a child, he read spirit picture books and mangas related to spirits and Japanese folklore. He especially liked the Japanese spiritual world in Shigeru Mizuki's works. He mentioned Chimimoryo, evil spirit of rivers and mountains, and Hyakki-Yagyo, a parrot of thousands of supernatural creatures known as Oni and Yokai that march through the streets at night, in the song Lamentful Miss. One of Mana's favorite yokai is Betebo-san, a harmless creature said to follow people walking at night and bring them good luck. He believes in reincarnation, and a fortune teller once told him that he used to be a quote, treacherous knight in medieval Europe. Because of some quote, special experiences he had in his life, he also believes in ghosts. Asked what was the strangest thing he has witnessed, he responded, "Once I sat in a room with my friends, we were talking about a ghost story. Suddenly something like a poltergeist phenomenon occurred. Everything in the room began to shake and the curtains billowed as if there was a strong wind blowing. However, it wasn't windy at all. In that moment I was so scared that I couldn't even look straight." In another poltergeist encounter he recalled, his personal things started moving around in his room and he quote, "saw a friend's soul leave his body." He was apparently so scared by this that he couldn't return to his house for a while. Additionally to all this, Mana is also, quote, "intrigued by the mysteries of the space" and is interested in black holes as well as aliens and UFOs, and he wants to know if aliens are real. In the past, Mana used a kanji spelling of his name. It can be translated as evil name or demon's name. Malice Miser used to have their own radio show. In one recording of the show, you can listen to Gecht and Koji rapping a tongue twister about Mana.
はい、これ難しかったな。じゃあこれはね、ちょっとこれね難しいね。ペンネームマナ様だから。マナから学んだマナーがなってないとマナのままはかマナのままはかもうマナのままはからマナのままはからまま言われる。マナから学んだマナーがなっていないとマナのまま母からまま言われる。と、言ってみよう。オッケー。これもリズムでいこう。マナから学んだマナーがなってないとマナのまま母からまま言われる。マナから学んだマナーがなってないとマナのまま母からまま言われる。マナから学んだマナーがなってないとマナのまま母からまま言われる。結構かっこいいね。
あ、今言えたの？
言えた。聞いてないでしょ。じゃあ工事行ってみよう。13秒。じゃあもう少しテンポ早く行こうか。
早くすんのよ。マナから学んだマナーがなってないとママのママからママ言われる。マナから学んだマナーがなってないとママのママからママ言われる。マナから学んだマナーがないママのママからママ。
In the years 1987 to 1990, Mana was the guitarist of an Osaka-based band Girl E. At that time, his stage name was St. Serena, so I guess it's supposed to be Saint Serena. Around that same time, Koji was in a band named Girl in Tokyo. Koji recalled that he was aware of Girl's existence before he met Mana. "I had a band called Girl in Tokyo before I met Mana-chan, but Mana-chan was also in a band called Girl in Osaka at the same time. Before I met Mana-chan, I happened to see an indie band live announcement page behind the music magazine called Rockin' F and noticed a band announcement about an Osaka girl band. And then I thought, is there a band with the same girl name in Osaka? Later, I met Mana-chan at the part-time job, but later it turned out that Mana-chan was in that Osaka Girl. It's quite a coincidence that I and Mana-chan had the same band name. Some fans think that there still is beef between Mana and Gect. The fact is they didn't keep in touch for a while, but as of now they are on speaking terms and have met on multiple occasions to discuss reunion events. Unfortunately, the discussions hadn't led to anything yet. Some time ago, Gect seemingly parodied Mana's cooking videos on his YouTube channel. On multiple occasions, Mana has stated that he tried to reach out to Klaha but had no success in doing so. In an April 2017 post, Mana wrote, "The other day I got a question about Klaha, but he vanished after his solo career. I tried various ways to get in touch with him afterward, but his whereabouts are unknown. You might think I don't want to talk about him, but there's just too little information. I hope one day we can meet again. He perfectly expressed Barano Seido. He's the best." Then in August, "I'm waiting for information about Klaha. It's Malice Miser's 25th anniversary after all. I really want to see him again after so long. It's kinda lonely not being able to get in touch with the members, right? Yesterday I was talking about this with a certain red person. I really want to hear that voice again after so long. I'm waiting for any info." In an interview for the Barks website in 2018, Mana said that he wanted to invite Klaha to participate in Malice Miser's Deep Sanctuary reunion, but again couldn't get in touch with him. The name Moi di Moi means me 10 months in French. The word moi, French for me, stands for Mana. The number 1 stands for beginning, the number 0 for eternity, and di mois, 10 months, for the duration of pregnancy, which in Japan is counted as 10 lunar months, rather than 9 months. Digital Madosho, or Digital Book of Magic, was a monthly magazine which included exclusive stories and photos that were not posted on Mana's blog. Since 2012 until 2017, there were 13 volumes of the magazine released. Mana doesn't believe that specific clothes should be worn by specific genders. Like for example, he doesn't think that traditionally feminine clothes should be considered feminine. He's basically against the genderification of clothes. He has also stated that there's no difference between men and women mentally. Quote, "It's not that I have to be masculine because I'm a man. I think it's better to be independent of gender." In an interview for a German magazine Astan, translated by Geisha of the Escape forums, Mana was asked, "Many people assume that visual kei musicians are homosexual because they wear women's clothing. What is the difference between European transvestites/gays and visual kei musicians who wear women's clothing?" Imagine the look on Mana's face when he heard that question. He answered, "It is very cheap to say that men who wear women's clothing are gay. I believe that there is no difference between men and women. It is alright if men wear skirts and makeup. I want to tear down the boundaries between men and women." Manasama.net was a fan site dedicated to Mana where you could find news and information about him. It also had a message board connected to it. The site was active since either late 2005 or early 2006, renewed in 2013, and the last updates were in 2017. The domain was shut down in late 2021. It was run by a person named Sarah. This entry was mostly based on posts by Reddit user Lollipop Dreamscape, who made a thread with Kaya facts at the Visual Kei subreddit. Schwarzstein are an electronic music duo consisting of Kaya, now famous for his solo career, and Hora, who recently collaborates with Koji in their Mayok project. They formed their duo in 2001 and were active under the name Rudolf Steiner before joining MANA's MIDI.net record label. There are many different stories about how Kaya and Hora met MANA. According to Lollipop Dreamscape, quote, Kaya's version is that he was loading equipment into a vehicle after a live, and MANA surprised him by showing up behind him. MANA's version is that he went to their dressing room after a live. MANA is the person who came up with the name Schwarzstein, and he also came up with Kaya's stage name. Schwarzstein left MIDI.net simply due to musical differences, and there was never any bad blood between them and MANA. In 2017, MANA made an appearance at Schwarzstein's 15th anniversary live. According to a mana-sama.net blog post about the show, at one point MANA took Hora's keyboard and played the intro to Malice Miser's Saikai no Chitobara. He performed guitar on 2 songs of that live and the keyboard in 1 song. MANA shared a demo recording of Schwarzstein's song Transient featuring a short guitar solo by him. He said that he is deeply attached to this song. MANA was also a guest at Schwarzstein's 20th anniversary show. Previously I mentioned that MANA is interested in mysteries of the space like black holes and UFOs. He is also interested in the zodiacs and constellations. He owns a projector which projects a starry night on ceilings. MANA is a fan of the manga artist Mitsukazu Mihara, and they had collaborated on several occasions. Mitsukazu made a couple of drawings of MANA, including some for the Gothingen Lolita Bible magazine. According to MANA, he started playing guitar when he was 15 or 16 years old. He also played drums between the ages of 16 and 18. He also played bass, and his favorite bass guitar is BC Rich Widow. He can also play a trumpet, a synthesizer, an accordion and a violin. One of the first guitars he used in Malice Miser was a Bill Lawrence Stratocaster. On its body he wrote with a blue marker Les Sorciers Fiancés de Satan, meaning witches engaged to Satan in French. There is a book of that same name about witch trials in Europe written by Jean-Michel Salmon and released in 1989. ESP Jean Filet is the guitar that MANA uses in Moi-même-Moitié. He has collaborated with ESP to make his own signature models of it. After finishing high school, MANA enrolled in a music school in Osaka. He wasn't satisfied with the rigid outlook that the school had on music, so he decided to drop out of it. Tentative is the title of a Moi-même-Moitié album which MANA has been working on for well over 10 years at this point. The recording of it was stopped due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Back then, MANA stated that he hopes to release the album in winter 2021, but that didn't happen. Some of the upcoming Moi-même-Moitié songs can be heard at their recent live shows. When MANA and Gecht first met, they ate ramen together and didn't speak at all. They just observed each other. Each of them thought that the other was weird. Gecht later spent the night at MANA's place and they talk about the Malice Miser concept of what is human. MANA has trouble skipping a sleep schedule, dating back all the way back to his time in Osaka. Kami would call him to remind him to go to sleep. More recently, on Twitter, Koji would reply to MANA's late night post to tell him to go to sleep. MANA stated that one song on Moi-même-Moitié 2004 Nocturnal Opera album is dedicated to Kami. He did not say which song it is, but fans are certain that it is Monophobia, due to the song's lyrics. MANA also said that Vestige is another song which is personal to him. Mana is claustrophobic because as a child he was locked in a closet as a punishment for some minor misdeeds. In an interview for M Gazette Volume 21, Mana is quoted saying, "I'm the youngest in Malice Miser. At first glance I'm the leader, so I have to put on an act, and because of that it seems like I'm the oldest." This obviously led to many people believing that Mana was the youngest member of the band. However, in December 2005, this turned out to be a lie when Tetsu made a blog post talking about Malice Miser in which he mentions being the same age as Koji and the other members being senior to them. This means that Mana was actually either the oldest or the second oldest member of Malice Miser. We know that Yuki was born in 1971, so if Mana being born in 1969 is true, then yeah, he is the oldest one. Mana has stated that there is no religion that fascinates him and he grew up without religion. In a 2006 interview for a French magazine, Mana was quoted saying, "I do not belong to a specific religion, which does not mean that I don't have a faith. I trust myself, go deep in myself, ask my inner self and create with time my own faith, my own way to see the things. That is my faith." He believes in the afterlife, quote, "Another world exists. When you die you lose your body, but your soul lives on." In 2022, Moi-même-Moitié found itself in a drama for not crediting one of its designers. Instead, they credited it to Mana. After this came to light, they corrected it. An issue of them reusing old designs and recreating them in worse quality was also brought up. Instead of responding to their fans' complaints, the company decided to deactivate comments on their Instagram. Mana himself is not to blame for all this, as he probably had little to no control over what was going on. Custom Wood Burning is a TikTok user who, well, guess what, does custom wood burning.
For this cutesy tootsy custom wood burn piece, I combined your lovely interest of mushrooms and minions. I drew a regular minion, but instead of the normal head, I gave it a distinctive mushroom cap. I specifically made sure it was inspired by the stinkhorn fungus mushroom, which you said is your favorite mushroom, and made sure to capture Mother Nature's beautiful natural artwork on the mushroom head, making it super veiny and anatomical.
She apparently is some kind of micro-celebrity over at TikTok. I don't know, there's some lore surrounding her and I don't know if I wanna get into this rabbit hole. Anyway, she once got sent 158 photos of Mana.
Some lady, no, 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 oh my gosh, no way. No way you sent me 158 free prints of the same lady. No way you sent me 158 free prints of the same flip-flopping lady. I don't even know who this is. I blame... Really, folks? No, 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 no. Why would you... This is such a waste of your money. I don't even know who this is. Why would you send me 158 free prints of the same lady? Oh, my word. Oh, my word. Same flip-flopping lady. Oh, my word. You're obsessed. You're obsessed. You're obsessed and you're weird. You're weird and you're obsessed. I don't like this. Who is this? Who even is this? I don't even know who this is. And there she is as a carrot. There she is as a carrot. No, 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 no. It's such a waste of my time. Oh my word. You are so weird. You are so weird. You are so... There she is as a strawberry. Oh my word, you are so weird. There she is as a strawberry again. Oh my gosh.
Back in high school, when Mana became interested in heavy metal and punk music, he grew his hair past his shoulders and dyed it bright red or pink and styled it into a huge mohawk. He got rid of the mohawk sometime after moving to Tokyo. In Malice Miser, Mana would sometimes take off his makeup and put on normal clothing and go to venues where the band performed to blend in with the fans in order to see how they were dressed and how they interacted with each other. After Malice Miser's Budokan show, Mana received a letter from a fan asking if the person in certain clothing she saw was him, to which Mana replied, "It was me, so don't worry." In the Malice Miser days, Mana once appeared as a guest guitarist on a live show of the band Art Marju Dushin. He was not a member of the band, just a guest for one show. The Gothic and Lolita Bible was a fashion magazine which focused on the Gothic and Lolita fashions. The first issue was published in 2001, and the final one was in 2017. MANA helped popularize the magazine, and he was included in every issue of it until 2016. In a blog entry he wrote, "I think everyone always looks forward to my photos wearing Moi-même-Moitié in the Gothic and Lolita Bible, but this time I got this from the person in charge. Every issue we've always requested MANA-sama x Moi-même-Moitié pages, but according to the publisher it has been decided that from next issue on those plans will come to an end." That's what they said. I have always taken part in the Gothic and Lolita Bible since the very first issue over a span of 10 years, so as you might expect, I'm a little sad. Vestige was the first band known by its name that MANA was a part of. They were active in 1986 and 1987. Pretty much nothing is known about this band. The only other known member of it was Shige, who was later in Girly with MANA, and later he was in several other bands. They allegedly started Vestige while in high school, which would mean that MANA moved to Osaka together with Shige. According to VKG, MANA's Not Dead was a one-time session band that consisted of MANA and his high school friends. They performed at Midinet's event This Inferno Volume 5, Last Year Party. They played a cover of Sensen Fukoku by The Star Club with MANA as a drummer. Other members of it were vocalist Katsuo, guitarist Hirotama, and bassist Nago System. Nice Middle was another one of MANA's one-time session bands, this time for the This Inferno Volume 6 Last Year Party in December 2008. It consisted of vocalist Katsuo, the one that was also in MANA's Not Dead, Koji on guitar and MANA on drums. Yes, that is the Koji, the Malice Miser one. According to Jam Awards biography special with MANA, he, quote, customized his school uniform by lining the jacket with paisley fabric and adding pockets, collected catalogs from shops that sold uniforms and designed his own imaginary school uniforms, complete with sewing instructions. This love for drawing and designing clothes would ultimately lead him to start his own fashion label Moi-même-Moitié. There is a rumor saying that MANA is married or is simply in a romantic relationship with Yuki Ito, the CEO of Midinet. It has never been confirmed that they are anything more than friends. As you might recall from the Real Reasons Why Gagged left Malice Miser video, a 2001 magazine with a report on the circumstances of Gagged leaving the band described Yuki as an old lady friend of MANA from Hiroshima. Quote, during their indies era, she worked as a hostess and paid for MANA's living costs. As an indies band, they would not have been able to release CDs without her and her family's financial investments. She also helped to promote the band. If you are interested what this has to do with Gagged leaving Malice Miser, watch that video for more context. Another article, this time from 1999, provided some more details on MANA's relationship with Yuki, although it did go into the rumors territory and implies that MANA and Yuki are in fact romantical partners, and also gets some facts about the band wrong, so take this segment with a grain of salt. The two of them have been friends since childhood, so I guess they've had a relationship for over 20 years. MANA came to Tokyo about 7 years ago, and while he was stuck in the lower social cycles, she helped him out and looked after him, all while working as a hostess in Ginza. The article quotes MANA saying, "My association with her is more than the usual ties between men and women. The thing we aim for and the things we value are one and the same, and that is why we are still together." MANA refused the idea of their being in a relationship, saying he is tied to her by strong bonds that are greater than the usual man and woman connection. From manager Ito's side, she denies it as well, saying, "That kind of thing, the two being lovers, has never happened." But when we told her that MANA confirmed their connection, her reaction changed. "Well, because I am a woman, I don't know if I should talk about that sort of thing." As to be expected, when we asked regarding the rumors that she and MANA have a child together, she gave in to a laugh. Okay, yeah, I can believe that Mana and Yuki's quotes are real, but I think this tabloid kinda manipulated the text to make it seem like him and her are hiding the truth or whatever. There's one Scape Forums post that made me laugh a lot when I first read it. A good friend of mine met Gecht in university a few years ago. I don't know why he was in Poland. At least it was his words when my friend asked about Malice Miser. Yuki Ito was Mana's girlfriend. Yuki thought that Gecht was taking Mana from the popular and asked me out. My friend also asked about the opportunity to Malice Miser reunion, obviously no, saying that we are on different levels. My friend was studying translation in Warsaw University and was one cool surprise. I am very glad to be able to include my country, Poland, into this video. No, it's true, I was there too, and Gecht left Malice Miser because he was in love with Kami, but so was Mana, and Kami chose Mana, so Gecht was jealous. Then we went and had pierogis at Kuchnia u babci Maliny, and Gecht ate 30 whole pierogis. Aside from the horror films I mentioned before, some other movies that Mana likes are, for example, World War II submarine films like Das Boot and U-571, starring John Bon Jovi, by the way. What the hell is he doing in a World War II film? Mana was interested in sports from a young age. According to Jetem Mana-sama, he played handball, baseball and futsal. He was good at Okinawan Kobudo and Nunchaku, and was interested in other martial arts. He loved to play baseball and football as a child. In high school he was in a handball team because he wanted to play a less popular sport. He is a long-time fan of the Hiroshima Carp baseball team. Mana is a bit clumsy and he trips and falls a lot. According to a post on the Mana's Beautiful World is Forever fan blog, at the end of the Moi This Inferno 17 show, quote, Mana walked to the other side of the stage and then disappeared. Turns out that Mana fell off the stage. He later tweeted that he was okay, thankfully. As the large balloons popped and the small ones were batted about, Hayato took selfie photos. Mana had reappeared on stage to the cheers of everyone. During Malice Miser's 2014 Deep Sanctuary reunion, Mana fell on stage while riding a scooter like he did in the Merveille live. Yuki helped him to stand up. On a rainy day in July 2017, he fell down wet stairs, but thankfully he didn't break anything. In a Masheri interview, Mana said he used to work as a drinking glass inspector at a factory. Zepeto is an application that, according to its website, is an immersive avatar-based social universe. You can make yourself a virtual avatar in it and can play some minigames. Mana has a profile on that app. Mana really likes the paisley pattern and he used to wear paisley shirts all the time back in the day. Some time ago he had a whole conversation about it with Koji. Mana likes planes. He is interested in their craft and engineering. He enjoys watching planes fly by, especially at a certain place where they fly really low. Lemons are Mana's favorite fruit. He also likes scents with lemon hints. According to Jetem Mana-sama, in elementary school, Mana used to put lemons in his lunchbox, and he likes to use lemons in his recipes. By the way, because I don't have a separate entry for that, Mana also likes pancakes with lots of fruits and whipped cream. Mana is a fan of thunderstorms. When he was a teenager, he climbed onto the roof to watch thunderstorms. These days he observes them from windows. According to Mana, the first band he was in was a Motley Crue cover band in which he was a vocalist. He retired from singing after a performance with them. At some point, Mana stated interest in writing an autobiography. However, in an Instagram Q&A in June 2020, he said he is no longer planning to release his autobiography since he did a lengthy personal interview with the Rock and Read magazine last year. Mana almost drowned 3 times when he was a child. In one incident he was, quote, left stuck on the top of the boat and had to wait for rescue. And in another, he was saved from drowning by another child. A photoshoot from Malice Miser's Le Ciel period was inspired by this event. In August 2017, Mana told an anecdote from his business trip to Cannes, France. When he had some free time, he went to the beach and sat on the sandy shore to watch the waves. And then a group of topless women walked by. Quote, being a gentleman, of course I acted normal, but wow, I really felt the cultural difference. When Mana was a child, he thought about joining Jonas, which was a talent agency managing groups of male idols. He even danced like members of V6. On a 2021 livestream, Gecht recalled how on one Malice Miser live show, one string on Mana's guitar was out of tune. When Mana strummed that string and heard the sound it made, he went from his usual poker face to this face.
上に上がっていって急に音を外した瞬間のマナガのギターを見るリアクションが超面白いんだよ。すっごい無表情でバーって弾いてんのに音外した瞬間にその顔がめ
Whenever a foreigner obtains a work visa in Brazil, their information is published for everybody to see in a legal newspaper. When Moi-même-Moitié came to Brazil in 2012, names of the band members have been made publicly available. This confirmed that Mana's real name is Manabu Sato, which was actually rumored for many years. Credits to the Escape Forums user Vladi Inferno for finding this. According to a comment by Reddit user Lollipop Dreamscape, I just realized that's the same guy who did the Kaya Facts thread. I didn't notice that before. Anyway, during one of Mana's visits to France, he was dressed feminine and walking around, I guess. He wanted to use a bathroom, so he tried entering the men's bathroom, and then some lady grabbed his arm and took him to the women's bathroom because she thought he's a woman. Dada, the vocalist of Velvet Eden, has some kind of one-sided beef with Mana. Dada is a pretty complicated individual. He is racist, xenophobic against other Asian countries, fatphobic, and has an obsession with young girls. There are all kinds of allegations made about him, but that's a topic for another video. Anyway, allegedly, Dada was friends with Mana until he got too annoying and Mana cut ties with him. Dada had a fashion brand, which wasn't very successful, unlike Mana's Moi-même-Moitié, so I guess he's probably salty about that. He gossips about Mana to random people on Facebook, saying stuff like Mana likes ugly girls. He claims Mana stole his style, even though Mana started cross-dressing long before Velvet Eden existed. As far as I know, Mana has never publicly commented on this one-sided beef of Dada's, which honestly makes this thing very funny, like Dada's just screaming into the void because Mana is living rent-free in his head. There is a video in which Gecht talks about the time when he first moved to Tokyo. This specific story takes place in Ikebukuro, in a flat of an unnamed Malice Miser member. Gecht was standing near a window, and one of the members warned him that he's gonna get shot. Almost immediately after, Gecht heard gunshots outside and ran away from the window. As it turns out, there was a Yakuza HQ at the same floor level of a neighboring building, and sometimes bullets would make their way over to the member's flat. Gecht did not name which member it was, but since it's confirmed that Mana used to live in Ikebukuro somewhere around that time, it can be assumed that this was Mana's flat. There is a photo of Malice Miser members posing with their van after it had apparently crashed. Since we know that Mana used to drive the van, it's likely that he's the one that had crashed it. By the way, I think because in my original MANA Iceberg video I played a TikTok meme of Mana crushing a bus, now some people say that he crushed a bus and not a van. And let me just say that I apologize for it, I didn't know it will lead to people thinking it was a bus. In March 2018, Mana posted on Twitter, quote, "The other day while I was striding through the city, a group of middle-aged women said, 'It's blank from X-Japan. My hair color is different.' Well, being called Mana-sama would be scarier though. The number of characters in that blank space corresponds to the number of characters in the name Yoshiki, who is X-Japan's drummer. Kokuri-san, also known simply as Kokuri, is a Japanese scary game resembling the Ouija board. According to Wikipedia, quote, "A tori, which is a traditional Japanese shrine gate, is drawn in the top center of the paper with the words yes and no written on either side. A letter grid is placed underneath the tori, along with the numbers 0 to 9. A small coin is used as a planchette. Before playing, a door or window must be propped open to allow the spirit to enter the room, and must be closed when the spirit leaves. In addition, the implements must be expended during the first 24 hours after the game is played. The paper must be burned, the ink in the pen used to draw on the paper must be used up, and the coin should be spent in a financial transaction." The game was very popular when Mana was in junior high school. He once watched his classmates and friends play the game, and for whatever reason the spirit they summoned didn't want to leave them alone. Mana told this story in an interview with mangaka Mitsukazu Mehara. "One day I was watching the kids playing Kokuri-san, and something occurred. The Kokuri-san wouldn't go away. Everyone was terrified and we thought things would get bad if we continued like this, so we went to a church. First we gathered at a friend's house and had a meeting. We were going to have a meeting and we were like, if we carry on like this it's dangerous, so what should we do? We all agreed that we should go to church. So we went and explained the situation to the priest, and he lifted the curse from Kokuri-san. Looking back I realized how childish I was, but at the time I was seriously scared and everyone was terrified." And that's it for this video. Wow, it took me so long to record this. I hope you enjoyed this video and the whole MANA series. I had a lot of fun making it. I should probably mention that no, I did not forget about Gaz, the bird's first drummer. I just don't think there would be enough entries for a full iceberg on him, and I had already talked about him at length in the MANA's Forgotten Members video. But I don't know, if someday I find like a huge page of Gaz trivia or whatever, I will gladly make an iceberg on him. Once again, thank you to Moss for making the original MANA Iceberg. Thank you to Lily for running the JTM Mana-sama account on Twitter. Thank you to Haitani, Mabulhani, Remilia, Big Body Igor and Connor Casey for supporting me on Patreon. Thank you all for watching, and goodbye.